Of course, one of the exhibits once again this year is the Tin Can Tourist Vintage Campers exhibit, and these were campers from the 1940s to the 1960s time, and these have been refurbished. So that's just one of the things that you can see down here around the lake yard here in downtown Defuniak Springs. And let's go over there and see if we can get some of these guys to give us a tour of their camper.
My name is Ann Schetzel, and this is our trailer. She's a 1973 Airstream Argosy. There were a few years where they made painted Airstreams, so we didn't just take a silver one and paint it up. We've had it for about a year and a half, and it has a lot of work left to be done. We've put a new awning and several other things, but I think it's a never-ending project.
Hi, I'm Tim Hines. I'm the Southeastern representative of the Tin Can Tourist Vintage Trailer Club. We're here at the Chautauqua event displaying our trailers for the general public. And here we have a 1966 Delray truck camper made in Elkhart, Indiana. It fits in the back of a truck, and you can take your entire trailer with you.
Howdy. My name's Ernest.
And
we're
I'm
Happy
Deborah.
Campers. And this is a Tab 400. It's a self-contained system with a full kitchenette, full bathroom, shower. It's got in-floor Swedish heat. It's got about everything you possibly could use for camping and nothing you don't need. Queen-size bed, dinette, everything folds down, and you can tow it with a Toyota, no issue.
And it's a newer camper, so but because we like the lifestyle of the Tin Can Tours, we participate.
Yeah, this is a vintage style teardrop, but it's actually European in design.
Oh.
Hi, I'm Laura Bowden. This is Elijah. We're here with University of Florida, Walton County 4-H, and we're going to teach the students on mindfulness and how to deal with stress. And we have demonstrations here and a takeaway of scented essential oil sugar scrub that will help them to calm themselves and to be able to bring themselves back to thoughtfulness and mindfulness of a situation, and help to deal with issues of emotions and how to ground those.
Okay, Barbara Mario, I'm with Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission. We are here today with 4-H and the Florida Forest Service, setting up a wildlife forestry trail for the people of Defuniak Springs and the area to look at, to see, to understand the different native wildlife in the area, learn their behaviors and what they can do in order to see them in a safe and safe setting out in the woods.
And how can someone get more information about what's going on here today?
They can visit the Chautauqua Assembly. They have a website, Chautauqua Assembly in Defuniak Springs, and it talks about all the different events that are happening over the weekend, as well as what's happening here on the lake yard.
Morning, my name's Maria Wilson. I'm the Okaloosa County Forester with the Florida Forest Service, and this is...
Yeah, I'm Michael Klassen. I'm the Washington County Forester, also with the Florida Forest Service.
So what this is a celebration of Arbor Day, which is a celebration of trees. And so we come out here and we bring the forest to the kids and teach them about different aspects of the forest, the longleaf pine wiregrass ecosystem, edible plants, camping, hiking. We're really trying to showcase our state forests, Blackwater River, Point Washington, and Pine Log State Forest. So there's a 3 state forests in this area that we were really trying to promote and try to get folks to come out and see us.
Yeah, and so today is really about teaching the kids. We have some edible plants here, we have longleaf ecosystems, we have invasive species, and we're just trying to promote, good forest practices and forest health, to the younger generation that's coming up.
Yep.
My name is Ariel Sewell. I'm with the Florida Forest Service. I'm the forester for Walton County. Today we're participating in the Chautauqua Assembly. We have an exhibit here, the tent behind me, where we kind of recreate parts of the forest And we also have Fish and Wildlife with some displays on animals, identification. And theme this year is Journey into Happiness, and we've kind of focused on things in the forest that make people happy, like recreation. We've got a simulation of some kayaking, camping, and hunting. We also have some edible plants in the forest that we're going to talk to the kids about. And we have a lot of local students, 4th grade students from local schools here today. We're talking with them about different aspects of the forest, about invasive plants, about edible plants, different forest types, and animals and such that make use of them and why they're important to us and how to take care of them.
Company, shoulder, arms, forward, march. Company, arms, forward. Forward, that's a double quick. Forward. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for coming out today. We'd like to salute the crowd. I would recommend for young children, cover the ears. It's going to be way up over your heads, but it will be loud. Battalion, at extreme elevation. Fire by battalion. Ready? Extreme elevation. Aim! Fire! Present! Arms! Order! Arms! In place. Rest. Captain, charge your men. This parade is dismissed. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That concludes our battle presentation. Thank you all.
Appreciate the weather. We drove all the way from Mississippi.
I want to remind everybody, 1:30 tomorrow afternoon. Battle of Vernon, Florida. Right on the same spot. Thank you. Thank you, man. Gentlemen, you are dismissed. Yes, indeed. Thank you for coming out. You call me so. Attention.
My name is Lieutenant John Mertens with the Walton Guard Civil War Reenactment Group, and we just completed our battle reenactment of the raid on Uchiana here at Lake Defuniak.
How long have you been doing this?
I have been a reenactor for 10 years now.
All right. How did you get involved in that?
I've always been interested in history and military history, and I always would like to volunteer to help spread the education part of that. There's a lot of information about the Civil War out there. Some of it's true, some of it's not true, some of it's a matter of interpretation. So let give everybody a chance to learn a little bit about the history by coming out and recreating a small part of it.
And how can people get involved here locally?
I would invite any people that are interested in getting into the reenacting hobby to go to the Walton Guards Facebook page. If you go to Facebook and search for Walton Guards, that should be one of your first results. I personally run that, so if you make a message on that, I will get back to you.
Patrick Nooner, and president of Robertson's Dense Battery, and we do Civil War artillery demonstrations. And what we have here is an 1841 mountain howitzer, first Perry carries model, and we use it at these small events like this one right here. We fire about 1/3 pound black powder, so it does make a pretty good bang. And these guns were generally used mostly by dismounted cavalry in some of the Western theater battles and skirmishes.
And what kind of round would it shoot out?
Generally, it would fire a shell that was exploding metal round ball or canister. More than often, it would be a shell.
Upon impact?
About 1,000 yard maximum range. They had a fuse that would ignited when the gun was set off, a time fuse. 1, 2, 3 seconds.
Okay. All right, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Years coming out for 4 or 5 months till they got their property ready to move full time. 7th generation still lives in the hand-hewn log cabin on the property right over there on the other side of the line in Okaloosa. But they would live out of the area, out of a wagon and stuff like this till they got it in. The cracker pioneers, my wife's family, they were the city folk. They wanted to build a community. My folks were the crackers. They would come over in Santa Rosa, and they'd want to just squat and have a place over there, living off the land. Don't want anybody to mess with them. They'd go to town and get some store-bought goods like coffee and beans and stuff. They liked rice. The term cracker has nothing to do with the whipping or racism or anything. The term cracker was actually used in 1640 by the governor of Georgia, wrote the King of England, said, "Let me tell you about these crackers, these braggarts." So the best we understand, the word cracker probably comes from a French word like to crack a joke. Even to today, a good cracker, and there's plenty. Governor Lawton Child in Florida, he was a well-known cracker, proud of it. What you would see is like a liberal tree hugger or a conservative redneck or something. Them people who say, hey, let me do things myself. Let me live off the land. Let me dig my own well. Let me find my own, Let me, even back then, they didn't have doctors. They'd make up poultices, medicines and stuff. They'd camp in an area like this and clear the trees. They'd go out in that lake and catch them some cooter. Cooter's a turtle. Maybe live off some alligator tail meat, little deer, little snake. There's a whole hog. They'd butcher pigs, swamp chickens that they'd go and catch out there. Swamp cabbage is a palmetto. I just use regular cabbage because I don't like cutting down the palmettos. I like them. Alexander.
See if I can actually hit it. It's center time.
Perfect.
It is different from beef, chicken, and anything else. You grill everything else. Now you can put barbecue sauce on stuff, but barbecuing is actually just pork. Although today they call anything they do on a grill barbecuing.
All the greens with some pot liquor. They would eat corn, hominy, grits, all kinds of cornmeal and corn products, yes. They already did, sorry.
All right, who we got here?
Well, they call me Rain Seeker, and I don't have my full duds on today, so you'll have to excuse me for being in this modern type stuff. Or if you want modern, you can go to them Civil War folks. They're modern stuff. We go from like the fur trade people, Revolutionary War to about 1840, 1850, and we talk about, and really to 1920 when you had squatters in Florida. And what we do is reenact what it would have been like for somebody to settle in the Florida Panhandle. It's a tough little place to settle in. People would come down here and you had a lot to contend with, including the warm weather, which was nice in the winter, but not so nice when you had bugs. If anybody knows the Little House on the Prairie and Laura Ingalls Wilder, her husband Alonzo and her came by barge and wagon to Westville. Family of Alonzo still lives over there, have a park over there. She never wrote a book about it, but she did write a letter about it, and in that letter she wrote, everything down here cuts you, stings you, or bites you, and in less than 2 years the Little House on the Prairie girl gave up and went back up north home so she couldn't handle it. What we do, this is part of a church ministry with men and boys we do, and we said, hey, fellowshipping in the wood with men and boys is great, but we want to teach people our love of our pioneer history. My family settled in the Panhandle, my wife's family settled in Walton County, mine settled, actually what's part of Holmes County now. They helped build the church over there in the 1850s, and we had some of the stuff they had and we added to it, and then we taught our boys, and we just all had a love for history, so we use this as a ministry to not only share history but to talk to people about faith, because like I say, those people who went to California for the gold rush, they went to California because they had faith there was gold in them hills, or faith there was land in Oregon or somewhere like that. Well, the people who came here had faith that they can make a living in a wild land that had really was settled in the mid-1500s, DeSoto, and he brought over these little horses and cows from Spain in the belly of the ships, and the ones that lived became what we have as our state cow and horse, the cracker cow and the marsh tack pony or cracker horse, and they grazed in all this rough stuff, spreading seeds and cleaning up things. And then we had crackers and regular pioneers. Regular pioneers just settled. Crackers were the ones who wanted to be outside of town. They wanted to be left alone. They wanted to squat and have somebody give them that property. And those cracker pioneers, they were kind of ornery too. But at the beginning of the Civil War, they had these 900-pound little cracker cows run around, and they said, we need meat and we can sell that. So they started rounding them up, and that's where you got the cracker cowboy. Now, crackers were here a long time ago. Like I said, the governor of Georgia in 1640 wrote the King of England and said, let me tell you about these crackers, these braggarts. And a cracker is usually going to tell you stories and be a big, loudmouth, ornery braggart. In the French term, to crack a joke, that's probably where we get the name, because the cracker whips didn't come in until the mid-1800s. But they take a really long whip with a wooden handle, because in the humidity the leather would rot, but they could reuse their handle. And they'd get on their marsh tack pony, and if that was a brush and that man was a little cracker cow, they'd go pow, and you could hear that pot snap a half a mile away, and that cow would run out and they could get him because their lasso would get tangled in the brush. And so that's how they got into doing it, and that's where we got the cracker towns from. Cracker in the Wild West only lasted about 10 years and wasn't very wild, but in Florida it was earlier, longer, and wilder. People don't know how big of a cow state Florida is, one of the biggest cow states in the nation. But we reproduced not only that aspect, but even up into the 1920s and 10s, when people were still squatting and settling Florida. We talk about after the Revolutionary War how people came here and the state started, and they literally carved out this land. The Funiac Springs had a few houses along Spring Lake when the railroad engineers came through and decided, let's put a town here. But there was already people settling here, and of course Native Americans were here too. And they actually invited some Scotchmen, and so we had some Scottish and then Germans come in, and that's how we've got our central Panhandle County, Walton homes and everything set up. And we just try to show what it was like to live out of a wagon in a camp for 2 or 3 years while you cleared the land and wound up making your new homestead. Hopefully the government's going to give me some of this land and I can go fish me some cooter in that lake, maybe catch me a little alligator every once in a while, and me and the wife, we'll go to town for some store-bought goods like coffee and stuff sometimes, but mostly I'm going to get me some rice, maybe some beans, give me some corn, hominy, and we're just going to live off the land. And that's what we show them. But we really tell them that every day there wasn't hospitals, there wasn't doctors, there wasn't all these conveniences that we have. If somebody died, you might have to wait until the preacher comes around for a proper burial. But they survived. If something happened, they got up the next day, and when they got up, they had faith. Between grit and grace, like our Walton production of Grit and Grace, they had the determination to do it and faith that they could do it and faith in God. Most of them believed in God, or at least believed in that faith. It took faith to build this, and we want to teach all these kids, we don't expect you to live like this, but we want you to know what it took to provide this community for you, your parents and grandparents and great-great-grandparents and great-great-great-grandparents, what they went through to make a town for you. And we teach the kids. I don't expect them to be able to start fire with flint and steel all the time or do something, but if they're in the military or they're in college or they're at a job, I want them kids to know, hey, I took and built a tripod to go over to fire when we needed that. I looked at my surroundings and I made it get done. I took grit and determination. That spirit of determination and faith in what you're doing can be applied throughout life, even in our modern society. And so that's part of the ministry we do, is encourage people. And then the other thing we do, you'll get some shots of the hog and the food. This is our house. We invite people in, and whenever you have guests in the house, well, I'm fat. I feed them. And that's what we are, is the Florida Pioneer Family. You can find us on Facebook. Just search Florida Pioneer Family and find out a little bit about it, downloads, and talk about Florida Pioneers, including the Cracker Pioneers. And anybody's welcome to join us out here. We try to do Chautauqua Assembly every year. She's making cornbread. This is our, I'm a good...
My soil pH right now is around 6.5. It can go all the way up to 8. How you can tell is if you plant a plant and let's say you're not seeing any growth, right? You're not seeing any growth for a prolonged period of time, chances are your pH is too low for nutrients to be made available to the plant. So if you lime, I lime once a month, and I actually use, I would go with, what is it? It's like a citrus tone. It's a company that makes citrus tone. They also make a lime that's available at Lowe's. You can get that for you for like 1 or 2 plants. Me, I actually use the granulated lime, and I use it on a Scott setting of 11, okay? And I do that once a month. Hello, my name's Jason Lebo, and I'm with Southern Grace Lavender Farm, which is the first lavender farm in the state of Florida. We sell everything from plants to candles, soaps, shampoos, pretty much all things lavender. I'd love for you guys to come out and check us out, either at the farm, or you can buy our items online at www.southerngracelavenderfarm.com.
Now, there are actually several health benefits to lavender, is that correct?
Oh, absolutely. I like to use it to not only repel bugs, but to ease the pain from insect bites, such as common bites from like ants, yellow flies, mosquitoes. But it has calming effects. It's great, especially with children who have anxiety issues. It helps calm them as well as pets. So it works for our dogs, like during 4th of July or fireworks, different things like that.
How can people get in touch with you?
They can reach me either through our website or online on Facebook, or they can contact me at 850-348-3361.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. First of all, I want to thank you all for being here. My name is Joanne Kleppel, and today we're going to talk about health and wellness and how everything is connected emotionally, mentally, physically, and so on. In today's world, we have a habit of having a symptom, an issue, maybe a pain or an ailment, and we typically just focus on that, you know, maybe with medication, and we don't look at the bigger picture. So today we're going to show the connections between everything all together. So before I get started, I want to ask if anyone is okay and volunteer, just to tell me what attracted you to this session today. Why are you here with all the wonderful sessions that you have available to you?
I've been working on harmony my whole life. I think that is the key.
Fantastic.
But I'm not there yet. So there's more to learn.
And there's, you know what, I tell my family and my friends that everything is a step. And, you know, we think sometimes we have to be perfect or get to a perfect state. And there's always more. And each step you take, the more you get to, which is fantastic. So congratulations, that's good. Would anybody else like to volunteer while they're here today?
I used to teach at California for 25 years at the university, so it started so long ago when nobody even heard the word stress. And I mean, people used to say, you're going to teach a class on stress management, so it isn't that old. I mean, the whole idea, I mean, all of a sudden it's just caught up, and I'm happy you're here.
Okay, thank you, and thank you again for being here. Yeah, stress is a big factor today. I know in the workplace, I'm sure, I mean, my generation, I'm about 50, 51, 52, but you know, I would have employees that signed off for stress. Everything is stressful, and you have to ask why is that? What's causing that? It's not like our parents or our grandparents had easier lives, because they didn't. They just had different things going on, but they dealt with it. But maybe they had a different way of handling it. So, okay. Anyone else like to volunteer while you're here today?
I will. I lost my husband recently.
Okay, sorry to hear that.
And we've been coping with cancer the whole past year.
Okay, sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
But there is so much of that nowadays, and at a younger and younger age, we're seeing so much. So I hope that some of this will help today, just again to see the bigger picture and all the different implications. So, okay. Well, thank you again. I have my technical assistant Amy here because the way the technology is set up, we have to adapt to it. So I'm gonna, if I, Amy, abracadabra. So I'm gonna actually start off. I don't necessarily like to talk about myself, but I find that people like to know your story. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about me and why I'm here today and kind of what led me here today, because that also fits into what we're talking about today. So I am not someone who's had a major health crisis in my adult life. I feel that my trauma happened when I was a child. I was exposed to various abuses, emotional abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse. I had relatives, siblings that were abused, that were older. And if you can just imagine being in a young child and having somebody you love kind of being beat, what do? You know, the only thing you can do is you have to hide, or you don't feel that you have power. But when you think about those things and how they impact you later on in life, most of the time you don't think about it. You just get on with your life. And it usually takes something later on in your life to make you take a step back and then address whatever it was. Because most of us, between 0 and 7 years old, we are just absorbing things. We don't have any filters. So we have emotions that we store in our bodies. We have values and beliefs that we store in our bodies, and we don't even know, because most of it is at the subconscious level. And if you know, what drives us in our day-to-day life is our subconscious. It's our driver. It's 90% of our consciousness. So if you look at the conscious and subconscious, 90% is in the subconscious. So we don't know. We might act and we might do things and we're like, yeah, I know I shouldn't do that. But why am I doing it? And that's because what's driving us is deeper within our subconscious level. So in my world, a lot of my trauma was young. And I didn't realize, you know, going throughout my teenage years and my adult life, how much that impacted me. I was always told, you know, you're well-rounded, you're well-balanced, you know, you're doing pretty good. One of my fears was security growing up, you know, particularly financial security. So in my adult life, I was driven by these things, and all I wanted to do was get ahead. And I took the normal path. You know, I went, took a corporate job, fantastic. It took me all over the world. I loved what I did. But you realize at some point something needs to change within you. I also found I was in a long-term relationship, and I realized that one day it kind of hit me, and I said, this person isn't physically abusive, but everything that's happening is just like being in a physically abusive relationship. So I didn't necessarily repeat the patterns of the physical abuse, but I did in a lot of ways. So that led me to adult. I got through, I was going great, and then I realized that I needed to change something about me. And that was about 10 or 11 years ago. So I looked at where I was, and I said, I do not want to live this way anymore. Something needs to change. And it doesn't matter how I got here. It doesn't matter the things that were going on and the people that were in my life at that time. What matters is I know I need to change something about me. I didn't know what, and I didn't know how, but it did not matter, because that was the turning point for me of changing my life to bring me to where I am today. So it took me a while to figure things out. And as you said, you know, once you think you got it figured, there's something else. It wasn't until about 4 years ago that I left my corporate life. And that was a big step, particularly financially, because I was, you know, that was my big thing. I needed to be financially secure. So I left my corporate life, and I decided I was going to travel the world. But I also knew it was more than leaving that job, and I also knew it was more than traveling. It was a life-changing moment. I was shifting, and what I did is I actually asked myself, what are the things that I want to be doing? And I just felt that travel was the means for me to do what I wanted to do. One thing led to another. That's the amazing thing. When I opened myself up, it's just like the door opened, and one thing led to another. The path just began to clear the way.
Yellow brick road.
Yes, you got it. Yellow brick road. And that's why, you know, when I started the travel, I was looking for a blog, a name, but Yellow Brick Road is just so stood out for me, because life's a journey. You know, it's going to have twists and turns.
A dinner party that's about share your light. And you know, as we talked about this, I want to start with our sponsors. You know, this event, and we're going to come up with an annual report so that you can see this in writing. It costs, for this event, it costs about $25,000 to put on the entire event. We sold about 40 passports. You could do the math and figure out there's nowhere close to the amount of $25,000 put on the event. If you're wondering, yes. So we're talking about $25,000 it costs to put on the entire event. But your passports don't pay for all of that by far. So if you're wondering how this works, Jan Hannon, where's Jan Hannon? She's at the back there. She bought 50% of one of the teas so that you could sit at that tea. Okay? Rosemary Pendry, where is she? She's right here. She also paid for half of the other tea so that you all could sit there. Your passport actually paid for your featured keynote presentation in your book.
Thank you.
Everything else after that was everybody else. David Bloodworth, is David Bloodworth here? No, but he bought one of the projectors so that you could see your faculty. So did one of our board members, Jim and Barbara Moore. I haven't seen them tonight, but they bought another projector, and that means we can keep it. David Bloodworth, he's not here either, but he made a commitment to purchase a another projector, and he also paid for an entire team.
Oh, wow.
Our field trips, all those school buses you may have seen on the circle today, the school district didn't pay for that. Mr. Mike Hill, who's on our board of directors, where's Mike? Mr. Mike Hill, not only paid for that, but then contributed another $2,000 so that we could be expensive. The Tourist Development Council, also known as Visit South Walton, they gave $6,000. Them in South Walton County. It's only a 20-mile drive from here, and it's right on the beautiful beaches, and there's wonderful communities down there, and so many intellectual and great things that happen down there as far as entertainment and so forth. You'll learn a little bit about the an ensemble that's performing there tomorrow. We'll get to that in just a second, but we're fortunate to be able to tap into those resources and have them here. The city of Defuniak Springs, this facility that you're in, for the teas, for the dinners, the amphitheater, the lake yard, the city wrote off what we normally would have to pay. So $5,000 and free use of facilities is what the city gave us. And in addition to that, you know, we have to rent the tent for the indoor nature trail, and we have to buy some other things. Sometimes you have to pay the reenactors and so forth. So the city also gave $3,500 in cash so that we could pay for everything that we needed to in that, what we call the lake yard, the park. So without the city's support, those exhibits would not exist, not to mention the Florida Forest Service and the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, the 4-H clubs that set up. They didn't charge us anything for any of those exhibits, as well as the Florida Frontiersman Settlement Camp. Ryan Chilcutt, where are you? Ryan Chilcutt's here. He's with the Chilcutt family. They did the Florida Frontiersman Settlement Camp, not to mention that they've had, what, 3 or 4 deaths in the family in the last... 3 deaths. Your mom is ill. And found their way to share their life, just for you. Let me see here. Our faculty didn't charge us. Would all the faculty please stand up? Wonderful, wonderful event this year. Thank you very, very much. Now, Kim Lonis, would you come up for just a second and explain, you know, Choice is a special school in Defuniak Springs. They made, can I tell them what they made? Or do you want to tell them? You tell them, you're the teacher.
Oh, okay. Well, in the center of your tables are individuals at the former Arc of Walton County, now Choice. They made the centerpieces, and of course we're honoring Let's Give the World, Give Kids the World Village and Mayor Clayton, and they researched Mayor Clayton. They printed him out, and they came up with the theme of a birthday party. And he's not hearing that, is he? It's a secret still. And we had a lovely visit from Mayor Clayton on Friday. And did we not, guys? Yes, ma'am. Did we? And three want to stand up? Because the designers, and they created the centerpieces here, and for the teas that you went to with the winter greenery, they went out and found that. And we are so honored to have been asked to participate, to honor Mayor Clayton and Pam's work and your organization, John, Karen, Randy, all of you. And Chautauqua is near and dear to us as well, because we embrace that concept of lifelong learning at Choice. And our individuals embrace the concept of lifelong learning and development. It doesn't end when you graduate from high school or college, and Chautauqua encourages that lifelong learning. And that's why it's so special that we were asked by Chris and the board to participate tonight. So we thank you, and we hope it brought a little festivity to your table this evening, and what an opportunity we have. Thank you so much.
Before we move into the next section, Shirley Carroll back here has, single-handedly communicated with all of the chefs and all of the food services to provide all of the meals throughout the weekend. She's also on our board. She also registered everybody who when you paid in advance for your passport, she was the one who responded to you and provided all of that. Also, the volunteers here that you see picking up these plates are all volunteers. We've got Dan Cosen, Sherry Cosen, we've got I'm sorry, what's your name again? Mary Rushing. She's my good friend. I'm just having that senior moment. But Mary Rushing and her husband have been great volunteers with the organization. Thank you so much. I believe Bonsteel McLeod has been taking tickets everywhere. And I think there's some people back in the back still working. Any other names that I'm missing?
Anita.
Yep, getting to Anita. Thank you. Appreciate that.
She also volunteered.
So she exactly. Now Anita Harris, she's also been a special contributor of ours. She has, that old building that we have, Lakeside building, and she has contributed a lot of money to that. Marianne Hussey also is in our audience, and she too, Marianne, has contributed a lot of money to. They've asked that we not reveal. But I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for and Anita has contributed a significant amount of funds just for this particular event as well. So we thank you so much for that. And she owns the bookstore that's downtown now. So it's called Anita's Half and Half because half of it's used books that supports the Friends of the Library. So all the proceeds benefit that for the library. She also sells porcelain, hand-painted porcelain. So the porcelain that you saw at the teas today, that's the kind of porcelain that you'll see on sale at her bookstore. So thank you very, very much. You open tomorrow? You are open? You're not open tomorrow. Little secret tonight, it's Mayor Clayton's birthday is normally on Tuesday at Give Kids a World Village, but he doesn't know that tonight we're going to celebrate his birthday. So we're going to have a performance first, in which we're going to focus on this beautiful music that we're about to hear, and then there'll be a cue that the mayor will show up, and then as soon as he comes through, we're going to yell, "Surprise!" And it's his birthday, and there's going to be happy birthday sung to him. So save a little room for carrot cake, for birthday cake, okay? And then after that, we will, we'll talk about Share Your Light, and anybody who wishes to share your light, if you did bring a gift for Mayor Clayton, a new toy, we'll be, asking you to come up individually so that you can hand it to him directly. And those who have given groups of toys, you may come up and make a presentation, and we'll unveil. So we're looking forward to that in the later part of for the evening. But for right now, I'm very proud to introduce Dr. Heineman, and she's from Escape Ensemble, and she's going to describe tonight's performance, and so enjoy. I know we're in for a real treat. Thank you. And they're sharing their light too. They're not charging anything to be here.
As Christopher says, my name is Dorothy Heineman, and I am here by the grace of the Escape to Create program, which actually has sponsored me and a young ensemble, including a fabulous pianist who you're about to hear, named Jacob Mason. However, I think Christopher thanked everyone except for Christopher Mitchell. as an artist myself and who is so dependent on the support of communities, to hear what a supportive community this is, and the ways in which you share your light with each other, and in so many different ways. And in this evening, for example, in the arts. And so we would like to share our light with you in this program, and we would like in the future to hopefully be able to come back many, many times and continue to do this on the behalf not just of young performers, but of artists, poets, playwrights, all kinds of interdisciplinary artists. And that is the mission of Escape to Create, which is also a nonprofit. It is to bring arts to Walton County, all across Walton County. So for us, this is an extremely special and important invitation. And I just would like to thank you again. Jacob Mason is a senior at the Frost School of Music. He's about to graduate with his degree in music. However, he is an old hand at the piano. He's performed in Carnegie Hall. He's performed in Europe. He has performed in some of the major venues. He has performed with orchestras. He has performed with chamber ensembles, and he's performed as a soloist throughout the world. And so you're in for a real treat. Jacob is going to introduce each piece for you. The pieces are brief, and without further ado, Jacob Mason.
Well, we at the Florida Chautauqua Assembly has had a wonderful weekend on a journey into the world of happiness, and we thank you for joining us. We also thank the City of Defuniak Springs for being a part of this program, and I'd like to leave this with a little, any closing remarks from Pamela Landworth of Give Kids the World.
Absolutely. We are just amazed about the outpouring of love and support that, Chris, you've given us, the entire community of Defuniak Springs. We're so blessed to be here and to be part of this wonderful event, and thank you for allowing us to share our mission.
Well, thank you for coming. It's been a real honor to have you and the Mayor
And Mayor Clayton, yes.
for being here in Defuniak Springs. Thank you so much.